this. It's been an amazing, amazing time, actually. And I know many don't agree, and I've said it many times that this has been that sort of period, that sort of era when we've really had to rethink. We have had to go through a lot of thought processes. We have had to work through a lot of different approaches, but it's given us all time to think, time to reevaluate, and really time to see what's best for us. So I hope that the Tubules Live we've been doing have been inspiring you. They have been energizing you, and they have been giving you all the positivity you need for for dentistry, really. Now, Dental Tubules has always been about giving you that positivity, about giving you that inspiration. So before I give the stage over to today's guest, I will always do a little bit, a very small bit of an introduction to set the tone. And today I've got an interesting story because Tubules Live always comes along to you, normally every Monday, every Thursday at 7:30 UK time, to inspire you, give you positivity, give you energy. Ultimately, more than education, it's your growth engine. It's your V6 engine that powers you up and keeps you going through the week, to the start and end. And realistically, I always start with a thought. You know, the questions I've asked this time is, has it felt like Groundhog Day for the last year, especially in the UK with everything? Are you tired of the dentistry, the PPE that you have to go through and everything else, you know, to get back to normal dentistry? You almost feel like you need a breather because of everything. Well, we've got something exciting in October, which is the Tubules Congress.
Guess what's back? We've missed seeing each other. We've missed having a laugh. Most of all, we've missed the hugging and handshaking. Not anymore. The hands-on workshops, the lectures, the fancy dress theme, and the red and black dinner. The camaraderie and the laughter is back.
They always try to make the congresses because they're so much fun.
The atmosphere is just terrific.
Incredible value for money.
It felt like I was walking into a family reunion.
Would not change it for the world. I've met so many great friends.
I only have to watch one lecture to feel like I've had my money's worth.
It's actually a way of life.
Congress 4 2021 is coming to you live from the Hilton Brighton Metropole. Bringing people together is what we've always done. This time, it's more essential than ever. Join us for the most inspirational 2-day experience in dentistry. Tickets are out now.
Yep, the tickets are out, so join us. I think 50% have already gone. The workshop's having great fun. But what I do want to say is this: success does not happen by accident. Success happens when you plan something. And normally I talk to you about goals and success, and I talk to you about the plan, and I talk to you about the 5 pillars of growth. But because of the talk we're doing today, I'm going to start with a little talk differently. I'm not going to tell you about Tubules and how we help you find your goals or growing to achieve these goals using the 5 pillars, or tell you about maximizing your potential to thrive, because that's the story we normally give. And we tell you we are about inspiring, growing, and thriving. What I do want to talk to you about is this: Huckman and Pisano, a study done on 203 heart surgeons across 43 hospitals, measuring 38,577 procedures. Now, the mortality rate for these heart surgeons was about 3% when they worked in various different hospitals. But here's the thing, that when they actually, so, you know, you'd assume as these people are knowledge workers, they have the experience, they work through, they get better. But what worked out is they realized that although the mortality rate was 3%, in some hospitals, it improved. It got better than the 3%. And in some hospitals, it didn't. In some hospitals, it got to less than, it dropped by 1%, while in others, it didn't. It's the same surgeon. It's the same person. Why is there that they're getting different results in different hospitals? And there was a concept of familiarity. And in that familiarity was something very different. That is, the staff were not changing. The teams were not changing. The teams were consistent. In essence, one of those hospitals was the trusted team. Trust is so important. And trust is when you choose to risk something that's important to you and make it vulnerable to the actions of somebody else. And I put this to you because distrust is when something important to you is not safe to somebody else. And this is the vulnerability we see all day long. When our patients come to us and they put something important to us and they put it on our hands, they basically express their vulnerability. I'm not going to talk about the team, but they make a request, they express their need. And it's our job to understand this and get their perspective. And when they express their need and we understand it, in our hands, we have something important. In our hands, we have information which we can use to benefit and serve the patient. We can use to benefit or serve us, or we can use to benefit and serve both. And that's communication. It's your motive of what you do and why you do it that makes that change. The care, the intent, your integrity. And then come your capabilities, your skills, and your track record and everything else. Why do I talk about trust? Because it doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly. Trust happens step by step. And that's what we talk about. So at Tubules, yes, we're all about CPD and armor and education, but ultimately we want to inspire you and your team. We want to enable your team to grow, and we want your team to maximize their potential to thrive in all areas of growth, professional, personal, financial. And ultimately, CPD as continuing professional development may be what others do. CPD as the complete person development is what we do. And that means we have to earn your trust, your faith, everything as well. We want to help you grow. That's our interest. That's why we're the organization of 48,213 Tubulites as of yesterday, inspiring, growing, thriving together. And ultimately, students, undergraduate students worldwide, you get free premium membership on Dental Tubules. This is the program we've done right through 2021, giving you all kinds of topics from restorative, digital, prosthodontics, endodontics, you name it. And this month, we're also going through many exciting topics. And if you like what we do at Tubules, if you like what we work with, share the word. Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, email, share the Tubulitis, because the world needs this energy, this inspiration. It's not just the video library we have. It's not just the study clubs. You decide. You can remain a sheep walking on an isolated farm, or you can join the tribe of Tubules tigers making a positive difference in dentistry around the world. And it's not just dentistry. We make a difference by giving 3% of our income gross, not net, 3% of our money to the Tubules Foundation to help little kids like this around the world. Now, this is our first project, a school in Voi, Kenya. These were special needs students who needed help. We started and embarked on this project 2 years ago, building this library, high-tech library for them. I can tell you the building is complete and the interior furniture is going in now. We're going to present these students with a high-tech library, computers, internet, the kind of education they would never have had an access to. So while you're learning, while you're improving, we are also hoping that these little children around the world get a chance they'd never have had in life. That's the ethos which with Tubules works. And with that, I welcome you to this evening's event with Dr. Miguel Stanley, talking about how you can be more successful seeing fewer patients a day. Miguel, good evening and welcome to this evening's show.
Damn, man, can you just drop the mic? Damn. I'm a big fan of yours, and I'm first of all, thank you for having me, Drew. It's always a pleasure. I'm so impressed. You know, I've been following you for a very long time. I think I was I was there from the beginning. I've been in this for a very long time, and I'm very impressed in what you built and what you're building. Once you interviewed me, I think it was
2014, I think, or 15.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. And I just remember I got really emotional about just the questions that you asked me. And I understood your ethos, and I understood, and I went with my wife and your wife, and we went for a lovely lunch. And I remember back then just saying what a good guy you are, you know, just a real, genuinely decent human being. And I don't think anybody understands how much effort you've put into this. And all of these younger generations that think that, Instagram fame, instant fame, just add water and you'll be famous and rich overnight. They don't understand the layers and layers and layers and layers that come into being a successful. I love the energy. I love what you're doing with Tubules. Congratulations. Thank you. I'm happy to contribute. Thank you for having me on. So I'm good to go, man. Let's go.
Yeah, go on. Let's go. You can share your bit and everything now.
All right.
And Miguel's going to do the presentation on slow dentistry. and then we will proceed on to the Q&A session.
Okay.
While Miguel's sharing his slides, also to let you know, Slow Dentistry was a movement started on this basis of trust and thinking, really, all about the fact that we want to make sure patients have all the ability to be able to really get the time from us, give us the information, give us everything that we need, and we can help them. And that's what we want to do with Tubules Live, about how we can be more successful seeing fewer patients a day. Over to you, Miguel. Good evening.
All right. So for those that don't know me, I've been a dentist for 24 years. I'm an implant surgeon. I'm a cosmetic dentist. I run a team of roughly 40 people. I founded the White Clinic many years ago. I've lectured in over 50 countries. I've done TV shows. I treat celebrities. You can follow me on Dr. Miguel Stanley. And I'm really passionate about dentistry. And many years ago, I started seeing this trend in speed dentistry growing and growing. And I just wanted to do something about it. And I wanted to tell you that, the story a little bit today about how I've always been doing this. It's not something that I discovered and then started doing. I've always been practicing slow dentistry. So back in 1999, when I started my first clinic, I had no idea what I was doing, but I always basically booked 1 hour per session. Now, for those of you in the UK, I practice in Europe, in Portugal. I'm a GDC licensed practitioner. I have an active license to practice in the UK, but we don't have something like the NHS. So we don't have governmental dentistry. And so I'm a private practitioner, and I've always practiced privately the way that I think that I should. I've had some amazing mentors in my career. But basically, I've always had 1 hour appointments. So from a simple hygiene to a checkup, the minimum chair time since 1999 has been 1 hour to do things properly. And in my career, I've traveled around the world and I've interviewed dentists and spoken to a lot of people. And we see all these advancements in technologies and scanners and 3D and digital and AI, but has dentistry really evolved? I mean, at its core value, has it really evolved? And why are most days a struggle for so many people? Why is mental health such a huge issue in dentistry? Why is suicide at its highest levels in dentistry of almost any profession? That's not a myth, that's a fact. We've got some great dentists, Simon Chard and Kyle Stanley from America, talking about these. And, is dentistry a consumer product? Is it something that we can just sell? And is it something that, what is it? Is it not healthcare? And why is it so hard to be understood in many cases? And the way I think about this is that dentistry, our fight is concealed. It's a very closed environment. And it's almost as if it's the secret sect of healthcare, and the outsiders don't really know what it's all about. 7 billion people don't really understand what 2 million dentists around the globe are actually doing. And I think maybe Hollywood has a role to play there.
Okay, here we go. Patient named Phil Lennox, 2:45 a.m. arrival, minor concussion, like I said, some bruising, pretty standard. Do you mind if I take a look? I'm actually a doctor. Yeah, you said that several times last night, but really you're just a dentist.
You're just a dentist. I think that's really, really rude, hurtful, and untrue. We're not just dentists. Dentists can actually be really impactful. And when you take the appropriate amount of time to do things, you can actually be really, really powerful. And should we not have better exposure from the world's biggest marketing machines? If you look at most Hollywood movies or sitcoms, the dentist is always a really stressed out guy with outdated technology. And I think that lends to this pop culture that dentists are very stressed out people. And another thing is that a big problem today is that the public, patients, perceive premium real estate, good marketing as a sign of quality instead of technology, ethics, quality materials, and trained human resources. Look what Drew just said about that statistic about heart surgeons. If you create a good team around you and you're consistently focused and working in one place, I'll say in Portugal, a bunch of dentists under the age of 30 work in 5-6 different practices, and they're hopping around, filling out their agenda just so they can, make a bit of extra cash. And I don't really know if that was the original plan, but that's definitely happening a lot. And of course, everybody wants to settle down and have their own clinic. I didn't inherit a clinic. I started from scratch. I have no doctors in my family. But I was always a bit confused when I see dentists in high streets with these amazing clinics in really expensive areas, driving fancy cars. But then they have good fees. Like the pricing is not that expensive. So you kind of think, well, where's the money going? And then you look more carefully at it, and they're seeing 20 patients, 30 patients, 40 patients per chair in these locations. And you're like, and then, charging €100, £100 or £200 or £300 or whatever it is. And that's not really dentistry. So that's where the consumerism comes in. And of course, the patient side, they love having a fast dental appointment, having the doctor say everything's great, whatever, and out. And then what they're actually selling is just, I don't know. I don't really know what that is. We have to figure that out. And of course, dentistry's evolved a lot from the 80s to the 90s to 2000. It's really evolved a lot, but the public hasn't really been made aware of these of this evolution. And technologies, techniques, softwares really, really dramatically changed dentistry. And if you look at things, that's not really a global phenomenon. In wealthier countries have more access to this than poorer parts. And I actually spent some time in Uganda, where there's only 320 dentists for 42 million people. And I started asking this question: shouldn't the value of a smile, oral health, be the same for everybody, regardless of your age, your gender, your religion, your sexual orientation, your race, or your health system? Why should a patient on the NHS get worse dentistry than a private patient, or vice versa? Why should that be so arbitrary? And should dentistry be lower quality for lower income families? And again, I'm a private practitioner. I'm only one of millions of dentists around the world, but I don't think that any dentist, when they study dentistry, says patient A is rich and can afford good stuff and patient B is poor and can't practice different dentistry. Nobody really learns that. There's, the public might actually think that there's a convention about how to do this, but there's no conventions about how to treat poorer people worse. So why are we doing it? Where's the science? Where's the evidence to say that we should treat people that can't afford quality dentistry worse? How can you back that up? And, is this the kind of dentistry we really want to be doing? And this is a joke. This is in a square in Marrakesh, but there are parts of the world where this is actually how dentistry is performed, or some form of dentistry. So depending on the place of birth you are, where your type of education you have, your annual income, your understanding and access to oral health care varies unlike any other consumer product on earth. And yet it's labeled as dentistry. Visit your dentist, the dentist. And I just think that that's something that needs to be improved. So why do people come and see us? Why do people go to the dentist? Well, they can come for a checkup, pain, orthodontics, missing teeth, cosmetics, a second opinion, implants, bleaching, and the whole scope of action. Dentists were pretty much licensed to do almost anything in the oral cavity. And regardless of you having 1 year of experience or 30 years of experience, the license is the same. So the worst dentist in London, the worst dentist in the UK has the same legal rights as the best dentist in the UK. And they're both doctors, and the patients will probably like the one that talks to them nicer and smells best and spends less time with them and is cheaper, which is kind of crazy because that's not what we go to school for. And we never know who comes through the door as patients, or what they might need. We know less about our patients than we do about our Uber driver. And by the same token, patients know more about their Uber driver than they do about their dentist. And this is insane. This is healthcare. And bad dentistry can really affect you and your health negatively. And what are we trained to do as physicians of the oral cavity? Diagnostics, treat mechanical and biological issues, restorative, ortho, implants, root canals, etc. Yet, our work isn't just clinical on our day-to-day. We have huge emotional issues. We have stressed out patients, complicated patients. Anybody that's a dentist watching this understands that it's much easier to treat a difficult case on a nice person that's super calm than an easy case on a patient that's really complicated emotionally. Everybody knows that, right? And of course, there's the huge financial aspects or the bureaucratic aspects and the paperwork and all of that. Literally, we are not trained to do 2/3 of our job. We're trained to do clinical dentistry. So we're not trained to do management, negotiation, customer relations management, procurement, marketing, human resources, finance, sales, all of this stuff. Basically 99% of our day. I remember my wife used to say, your job is very stressful. And she used to think that it was the dentistry. The dentistry is actually relaxing when you've got the right tools. It's all of the other stuff. It's all of the, the PR, the management, the due diligence, and the plan, all of the complicated stuff around avoiding complications. And that takes up a lot of time. And what our patients ask from us are, look, I don't want any pain. I want you to be punctual. They can be late, but we can't. Don't take too many x-rays. Don't make any mistakes. I want perfect aesthetics. Make me happy. Do it fast and cheap. Oh, could you lie here and say that you did this instead of that? Oh, and everything has to last forever. And this is like really nuts. And what don't they care about? The science that we studied for, how difficult it is to make the right diagnostics, who pays for failure when things go wrong, what type of materials you use, why it takes longer to do the right thing. All they care about is price. I want it fast, I want it cheap, I want it affordable, and it has to look fantastic. Well, that's not dentistry. It's something else, and I don't want to be personally compared to, with no disrespect, but to somebody that's a beautician. And don't get me wrong, a great hairstyle, good makeup, nice eyebrows, very important to your self-esteem and your social appearance. I understand that, but dentistry is healthcare, and we need to be very careful about this. So what do a lot of dentists stupidly do? Everything the patient asks them to do, so they don't lose the patient or the client in this case to the competition, to simply fulfill daily quotas or to make a little bit more money, or their boss is happy. And that's a mistake. And unwanted patients can create a lot of stress for you. Everybody knows that. And that's where the mental stress comes in, and the unhappiness comes. And if you saw what Drew was talking about in the beginning, everybody wants to be successful. You can't really be successful if you're seeing a huge amount of people a day, because the risk, the more people you see, the more risk factors you have. And trust me, I have, I've been doing this for a very long time. I have patients that most people can only dream of having. And the higher you go up with, the more complicated they come. So what do we do? Change profession? I don't think so. One of the things I created many, many years ago was a concept called No Half Smiles, and you can Google that. It's on social media. But basically, I'll show an example. Client comes in, says, doctor, shopping around for veneers. And he says, I want 4 veneers on my top teeth. Now, I look at this case. The guy's got healthy teeth, healthy enamel, healthy gums. And he says, how much is a veneer? And let's just say, for argument's sake, £1,000. So he's like, oh, £4,000. Here you go. And he puts £4,000 on the table. And I'm like, nah, that's not what you need to do. And anyway, I convinced him to do some smile design. Here we use the digital smile design. He came back the next week and we did a virtual mock-up so he could actually analyze what his smile would look like and what it would need, not with 4 veneers because the dimensions of the teeth need to be altered, but after a year of orthodontics, changing the position of the teeth and potentially on 10 or 12 veneers. And he's like, oh, that's very, very expensive. I don't really want to use aligners. I'm the client. I'm in charge. I just want to have the 4 veneers. Here's the £4,000. And if you don't do it, I'm going to go to the competition. So what I do is I don't accept. I give him the address of the competition. And I usually choose somebody I don't like. I say, go to that guy. He's really good. Because this is you buying a £4,000 headache. Now, I didn't really get paid for all of the time that it took to do this, or justly paid. But the time that it took me to actually show this, I mean, most times the patient converts into a yes, but when the patients don't accept, what you've done is you've avoided complications, and that took time. And in 2008, I coined the sentence, finance-based diagnostics is killing dentistry. It's like, oh, how much money can I make from this case? That's not dentistry. It's not dentistry. So patients saying no is a very good thing. And you can say no to your patients. And if you can't say no to things that aren't really scientific, then you should learn to say no. And here's another, an example of that. This patient came to me many years ago. Look at the loss of vertical dimension. Again, she's like, oh, I just want to have the 4 or 6 front, social 6 or whatever. And she drew this over the panoramic. And I'm like, no, what you need is some implants, rebuild the vertical dimension, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh my God, that's so much work. That's so expensive. I can't afford that. And I said, well, I'm sorry. The other option is just not viable for me. You're happy to go somewhere else. That wasn't hours. Maybe she must have come 3 or 4 or 5 times, hours and hours of conversation. It's called informed consent. Had I just done the 6 veneers, I know that they would have broken a few years later because if you don't have the posterior function, and that's just the basics of occlusion. So I built it for her. I probably would have done things. No, I most definitely would have not done the root canals today and used Pascal Magna's or Francesco Violatti's adhesive techniques, but you'll understand in a bit why. So here we have the total rebuild. That's her without any plastic surgery, just by changing the vertical dimension. And that's her 2 years later, 4 years later, 10 years later, because she would come back regularly for her checkups. And here she is 14 years later with no chipping on the ceramics, none whatsoever. And these are layered, so it's feldspathic. These things are quite fragile. But had we not rebuilt the posterior function, we wouldn't have had this form of longevity. Now, I took a lot of time with this patient in the beginning. I didn't rush it. I didn't try and sell it. And I was happy to lose the case if she didn't accept what was right. And that means that for people who are trying to figure this out, I see sometimes only 2-3 patients a day. And I've been doing that for a very long time. And if you look at my site, my Instagram, I think I must be doing something right. So I don't understand these dentists that think they're being successful by seeing 30-40 patients a day. It's not about volume, it's about quality. So dentistry actually bears more comparison to the housing industry than any other consumer product. And you've got to look at a rebuild, even of a single tooth to complex dentistry, like building a house. So you've got your architecture, your engineering, and then your execution. So many dentists are focused only on the execution. And if you don't, how do you say, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that takes time. And doctors just don't want to spend the appropriate amount of time in planning because, I'm not getting paid for that, but that's what you really need to do. So the patient-centered, the patient-driven scientific approach with a no half smiles planning and minimal invasive biological treatment therapy powered by awesome digital technologies and new materials following the slow dentistry cornerstones is the new norm. And that's basically, for me, what the evolution of dentistry is heading toward. So let's get into slow dentistry and what it's all about. So I posted this today. I went online, and The Independent on the 21st of May last year said that the average appointment on the NHS is 10 minutes, and that's for GPs. To the best of my knowledge, having interviewed many dentists in the UK, the average time for a dental appointment on the NHS is 15 minutes. So just by default, it's the exactly same discussion. It's one of the lowest appointment times of any advanced nation is in the UK. And I'm seeing all of these young dentists like super stressed and talking about mental health issues. And I follow a few websites in the UK, and let's just say that it looks like a lot of these young dentists lack the proper skills to do the things that is required of them with time, let alone without time. And no wonder people are so stressed. I mean, even a skilled dentist, just like those heart surgeons that had 3% failure rate, if you don't have the right team and the know-how and just logistical awareness of what you're doing, you're going to be making mistakes. And it's not your mistakes. It's that mistakes goes in a human being's mouth. And if you're making mistakes in a human being's mouth, that affects their life, their livelihood. They're just not even about the money. It's uncool. It's just unacceptable that that's happening. You shouldn't be stressing in dentistry, and that comes from good planning and good preparation. And there's no police in dentistry. Who's policing dentistry? I know that the GDC is very active and doing a lot of things, and dentists get sued a lot for some silly things and some for some correct things. But I think we need to have a discussion about how long people spent in the chair when things go wrong. It's like, okay, how long did you take to do that? 15 minutes. Well, maybe you should have taken a little bit longer to do it, because there's no training. Nobody's trained in a rush to do things in a rush.
Are you looking for a new dentist? You need a filling or a new smile? Choosing a dentist can always be a difficult experience. But now there is slow dentistry. A slow dentistry clinic is different than a regular clinic. Why? Because the minimum time for an appointment at a slow dentistry clinic is 1 hour. Our dentists make sure that in between appointments, the treatment room is correctly disinfected so that you don't get any illnesses from the previous patient. They will also take all the time it requires to let the anesthetic take its full effect. They will always explain each step of the procedure and give you a signed valid consent form, and always use a rubber dam for root canal therapy and most of the filling. Slow dentistry not only does great dentistry, but also protects the patient to make a trip to the dentist a wonderful experience.
So, slow dentistry, just you can visit slowdentistry.com. I'll break it down in a bit, but basically was founded many years ago. And what it does is it's a nonprofit organization based in Switzerland I don't work directly. I created the concept. I'm the founder with my sister Nina, and we wanted to give back. And basically, it is run by a team of volunteers in Switzerland. I do not work at Slow Dentistry. It's a nonprofit again, so I have nothing to gain from this. I don't make any money from Slow Dentistry. It's just somebody has to put a stop to this madness of doctors thinking that seeing 30, 40 patients a day is acceptable. I don't want to be confused with those people. And I know a good bunch of folk around the world, of good people that don't want to be confused with those guys. So it's, yeah, you're a dentist, I'm a dentist, but I'm a dentist that practices slow dentistry. What are you? Because that's different, okay? And the 4 cornerstones are very simple. Basically, if you take the appropriate amount of time to disinfect the operatory in between appointments, and I'll show you. These are the 4 cornerstones. These are the 4 questions. So this is a bit of our social media, and you can go to Slow Dentistry Global Network on Instagram. But there's 4 very basic cornerstones. Now, these cornerstones were filtered and put a lot of thought into this because nobody can argue that they're wrong. So if I said, for example, that you had to use, I don't know, digital technologies or whatever, not everybody has access to these. So I wanted to create 4 cornerstones that nobody could argue, and that if implemented, you would allow the patient a safer experience. So the 4 cornerstones are proper room disinfection in between appointments. It's not called tidying the operatory, it's called disinfection of the operatory. And it takes anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes to properly disinfect a room in between treatments. So if you're seeing patients every 15 minutes, that means you might be seeing 30 patients a day on, let's say, some NHS clinics where this is happening. How are you properly disinfecting the room in between appointments? How are you doing that? I've heard comments of, it's called a turntable anesthetic, where the patient comes in, gets the anesthetic, goes outside and waits for his turn. What the hell is that? That's crazy. That was a health hazard before COVID, let alone now. I mean, at least now people have become a little bit more aware about, contamination. So proper room disinfection takes time, guys. It's not tidying the room, it's disinfecting the room. Second, assigned valid consent. Will you be explaining the treatment step by step to your patients? Not just having somebody give them a piece of paper, sign this disclaimer. Explaining it. I'm going to be doing this, and then I'm going to be doing that, to remove anxiety from the patients and make sure that everybody in the room knows what's going on. And saying, if I can't do this, I'm going to do that. You can expect this, you can expect that. And I'm certain that if dentists start doing this more, they will start having less legal actions taken against them. So UK, to the best of my knowledge, has one of the highest rates of patients suing doctors. I bet you that doctors that spend more time explaining things to patients and getting it in writing and doing things properly, not delegating it to a staff member or receptionist or a salesperson, but the doctor doing that, then I'm sure people have less stress. But that takes time, guys. All right. So also rubber dam. The rubber dam is imperative. Setting up a rubber dam for every single root canal treatment, pediatrics, geriatrics, all adults. There's no excuse to not placing a rubber dam. We've spoken to endodontists all over the world. Why don't people use it? It takes time. It's a little bit cumbersome to do. I've actually heard doctors say, my boss doesn't allow me to do it because it takes too much time. I've actually heard that. That's unacceptable. And what we're doing is we're creating awareness. What does the network do? It by onboarding members that pay a fee, obviously a yearly fee. We use that to market the values and cornerstones of slow dentistry to consumers, to the public, so that they understand that when, hey, I actually want a dentist that's going to do these things to me, and then they will find and locate a clinic that practices this. And obviously pain-free dentistry. So some teeth, we all know that if they're inflamed, it's going to take a little bit longer for the anesthetic to kick in. So if you are practicing these 4 universal, basic, easy to implement, don't require any exceptional training, any exceptional learning, any exceptional technology, it's free. You can just start tomorrow doing this. Just going to have to probably see fewer patients. All right. And if that means you have to up your fees, so be it. You do the math. But this is the cornerstone of excellent dentistry. All right. And trust me, I like to be able to be more profitable for the clinic, but not at the expense of safety. So you guys need to make that decision. What are you going to start doing? You know that you're not being safe if you're not doing these things. So here's some examples, spending 10 to 15 minutes in some cases. If I've just done a big surgery, an extraction, there's blood splatter, whatever, I need to properly disinfect that so the next patient that comes in doesn't get sick from the previous patient. Doesn't that sound fair? I think it sounds fair. This is my setup for complicated surgeries, and to clean a room like this takes some time. So, of course, the result of proper disinfection, improved safety, less cross-contamination, less incidence of complications, and improved overall quality. Or, for example, you saw that case of where the patient didn't accept doing a smile design. I sometimes spend 30 to 45 minutes acquiring photographs and scans and stuff. And many times the patients don't want to continue the treatment. But you know what? Without that data, I can't give proper information. Taking a CBCT, analyzing it, behind the scenes, I should be paid for this. Doctors get paid, lawyers get paid for phone calls and emails they sent. Why should we feel uncomfortable about charging for the time behind the scenes so that we can do better work? So for those of you thinking, oh, but how do I get paid? Tell the patient, I'm going to spend 2 hours planning and my time is X £100 per hour in planning. Oh, you don't want to do planning? Fine, go somewhere else. Yes, you will see fewer patients, but you will see better patients. Remember, the title is How You Can Be More Successful Seeing Fewer Patients a Day. There's, I believe, 65 million people in the UK. 1% is 6.5 million. 0.1% is 650,000. 0.1%, 0.01% is 65,000 people. Can you treat 65,000 people? No. So do the math. The 1% want quality dentistry. And, you can't be doing fast and slow dentistry in the same practice and expect optimal outcome. You have to have consistency of quality. I've been doing it for 22 years. So, of course, you get better planning, better outcomes, less overtreatment, less risk, and patients love it. They love to be a part of this planning. Do you want to go to a lawyer? Everybody's seen these movies where the lawyer doesn't do any preparation and loses the case. Do you want to go to a dental surgeon that does no treatment planning, no preparation whatsoever? No, people want to see that. Do you want to just build a house without any architecture or discussion of engineering, selecting the right materials? No, it's not going to be a pretty nice house. It's going to be a favela or something like that. It might look pretty, but it's not going to last very long. So, we spend time discussing cases and we do that in front of the patients and we bring them in. And that's just part of what slow dentistry is all about. So we certify clinics. There's a yearly subscription. There'll be a giveaway at the end of this presentation. And if you have your subscription of dental tubules up to date, reach out to Drew and his team at Dental Tubules, and you'll get a voucher for a 10% discount for your first yearly subscription upon subscribing. And again, just go to slowdentistry.com. It's pretty easy. So here's a patient that came in and said, I want you to change the veneer. I want you to do a veneer on my front tooth. And she was willing to pay, let's say, £1,000. All right. Now, if I was in a rush, I would probably do just what she asked me. But guess what? I practice slow dentistry. I'm never in a rush. I said, oh, really? You want me to just fix that front tooth? So we have a panoramic X-ray, making sure that there's nothing, more serious going on, because as physicians of the oral cavity, I need to make sure she doesn't have any underlying pathologies like cysts, because it had an impact on that tooth when she was 16 or 17. And I was worried that, there could have been some issues. And of course, now I've given her, that takes time to properly do that. You have a clean bill of health. And because I spent proper time talking with her, I said, listen, what's happening? She says, the composite keeps on chipping off. I want to upgrade to a veneer, one veneer. I'm like, yeah, I could do it, but look at your bottom teeth. Oh, I don't want to do my bottom teeth. I'm the client. I just want to do the top teeth. I'm like, yeah, okay, but you really, and I know what needs to be done. Long story short, we scanned her, we explained what needed to be done. She'd never seen a scanner before, and she was shopping around, going to other clinics to see who could offer her the best deal. But this she'd never seen, and I took time to do it. And then we did a DSD, and we she then said, oh, I'd like to have this Margot Robbie smile. And we said, oh, that's cool, because Christian Coachman actually created this thing called the Smile Donator, and we superimposed the teeth, and we did a DSD on her, and we understood with the software Nemotech to, where the teeth would go. Long story short, we must have spent a good 6-7 hours behind the scenes, not with her. Of course, she went home, she came back, and we did a virtual mock-up, and it took another hour and a half to get it perfect. And then she looked at this and she said, you know what, that's amazing. Nobody's ever done this to me. And we must have spent with her and behind the scenes 15 hours, okay, to show her that what she needed was orthodontics and more veneers than just one. And you know what, she accepted, and she went from 1,000 pounds to probably, 15,000 pounds to get everything done, because we spent more time with her, fewer patients, doing proper comprehensive dentistry. And this is her after 10 months with her aligners. And then at the end of the ortho treatment, look, we didn't even need to do veneers, so you can be minimal invasive. I didn't need to oversell treatments. Just go slow, trust the biology. You can't do these things in a rush. And then we took off the composite of that central, and look how minimal these preps are. These things take time to do properly. You can't do biomimetic dentistry, which is a big thing in cosmetic dentistry. Biomimetic dentistry. Can't do that in a rush. You just simply can't do it in a rush, period. All right. So I know the guys, from Pascal Magna, all these top guys. These guys are friends of mine. None of them work in a rush. These are the best dentists in the world. None of them work in a rush. Why are you working in a rush? If you want to be successful, you got to see fewer patients and just do superlative, amazing dentistry. So we did some bleaching. We did some scanning, we do some 3D printers, all of these amazing technologies. And then my ceramist made some beautiful ceramics. We did a try-in. And now, oh my God, look at that papilla. It's terrible, but we understand the biology. I said, wait, trust the biology. And the gum fell down into place because we do our homework. Studying is part of our jobs, to be continuously learning. And, this is the final smile. And we went from a patient that wanted one veneer to having full arch, full smile dentistry, because we took the right amount of time with her in the beginning. So slow dentistry can actually allow you to really convert a lot more if you just slow down and do things properly. And, this patient generates so much more. So that's one of the things that you don't see on social media, is the time that doctors took this, before and after. And it gives this idea that things are done very fast. Now, I can do a before and after very, very fast when needed. But the conversation it takes, to actually convert these patients, you need to spend a lot of time. So slow dentistry is not about speed of intervention. If you can prep a full arch in 2 hours or 1 hour, amazing. If you can take out a tooth in 5 minutes, amazing. But you have to do signed consent, explain everything to the patient, let the anesthetic work, put on a rubber dam when necessary, and disinfect the room in between appointments properly. All right. So the name slow dentistry is not really about the speed of intervention, but about slowing down and patient preparation. And that's why you get these long-term success. So for me, true success is measured in the longevity of each case you treat, the happiness and health benefits you generate for your patients, and not just in each dollar or pound that you make. And this is the very first time we publicly show the new logo of the Slow Dentistry Global Network. This is managed by a non-profit organization in Switzerland. Nobody's getting paid. It's run by volunteers. We're growing organically. We're in over 40 or 50 countries now. It's incredible. Every day you can just sign up on your phone, go to slowdentistry.com. And if you're watching this and you're registered with Dental Tubules, just reach out to Dental Tubules and you'll get a 10% discount. We've published in multiple publications around the world. We're also talking about slow dentistry being digital. And there are new badges coming out in the future for people that take extra time to use digital technologies. I'm a big fan. I'm actually a board member of the of the Digital Dentistry Society. It's going to be an amazing meeting in Chernobyl. And you can visit digitaldentistry.org, digital-dentistry.org to find out more about that. And again, it's all about slowing down, seeing fewer patients with better quality. And trust me, the impact in mental health in your team is just going to be astronomical. And we think that this is part of our ethos, is to building a fairer and healthier world, because I just know for a fact that if you're doing speed dentistry, you're going to be having a negative impact and negative consequences on your patient's health. And that's not what we're here to do. We're here to actually help our patients. We have a bunch of honorary global ambassadors around the world. Some of the leading dentists on the planet are on our platform. Everybody, again, is working as volunteers for this. If you want to join us and help us spread the message, that'd be great. So here's a little foreboding about the future. I think that in the future, artificial intelligence will actually help us mitigate failure and improve dental care. Not so much by drones and robotics, which is also coming, but artificial intelligence will know what you did wrong. I believe and I predict that in the future, patients will be able to go to scanning centers that will very rapidly understand if you did something wrong. And it will know if you didn't use a rubber dam. It will know everything. So why not start improving your game today? Okay, because you being able to brush your mess under the mat because nobody really understood what you did, those days have their days numbered. And we are at Slow Dentistry, we are growing every day. We are marketing our cornerstones to the consumers, to the population, to the patients. And trust me, you know, a lot of our dentists have huge platforms. We are going to make a dent. People will understand. So dentists who have got these business plans around seeing 30, 40 patients a day, including the NHS, need to rapidly rethink their healthcare strategies and their business strategies, because we're coming for you. I mean, maybe that will have to maintain band-aid dentistry or quick fix dentistry, but not dentistry. I and all of those part of this organization and growing organization don't want to be confused with this patchwork dentistry. And I think that in the future, Yelp or Google or all of those organizations won't just be an emotional, oh, I didn't like the service. It will actually be controlled by an AI or something like that. And only the most ethical will survive. You know, dentists that actually do what they say they're going to do, following gold standard guidelines. And it's coming. The technology is here and it's going to help us all. So what are you going to do to change the industry we all love and care about? And that's the question I will leave you all with. And for those of you that don't know, I have a podcast. It's available wherever you get your podcast. It's called Biting into Healthcare with Dr. Miguel Stanley. It's free and there's no marketing. It's not monetized. There's no sponsorships. And these are short podcasts where I just basically blurt out my ideas. And there's one on slow dentistry. So feel free to download it on Spotify, on Google, wherever, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. All right.
Help you guys understand.
So I wanted to thank you all for your time and for listening to this podcast. Sorry, this webinar will be made available on Dental Tubules and also on slowdentistry.com. Thank you for listening. And I'm going to take some questions now with my good friend, Drew.
Thank you very much for that whistle-stop tour of Slow Dentistry, Miguel. There's quite a lot there to actually take. How does Slow Dentistry measure those 4 pillars? You talk about the consent. Do you actually have someone who watches a clinician doing this?
Well, that's a great question. Right now, no, we trust people's ethics and honor, because the first thing about being a dentist is that you have to be ethical and you have to practice with honor. And what we do understand is that it's patients getting in touch with us that have, so right now, patients actually write to us saying, do you know anybody practice slow dentistry in my community? So like just yesterday, we got somebody from Canada that said, I'm looking for a slow dentistry practitioner in my neighborhood. And there wasn't one. So we believe that in due time, much like TripAdvisor, the public will understand, because a patient won't know the difference between a feldspatic crown and a zirconia crown, or they won't know how to perceive the difference of treatment, but they will know how to perceive, hey, there's blood splatter all over the chair. The chair's still warm. The spittoon's got saliva still in it. The doctor didn't properly disinfect. He didn't explain things to me. I had pain. He started drilling, didn't take the right amount of time, and he didn't have a rubber dam. All of these things are easily understood by the consumers. And we believe that, that will slowly grow into that. We're also working with some tech companies in building an AI device that will somehow, we're still working on it, analyze the metrics. But right now, we're just trusting the community.
I think this is another important bit. And you've realized this is a recurring theme, which is why I put it there. And it's trust. You trust the community. The aim of slow dentistry is to build the patient or the person or the whatever we call its trust in the dentist. But trust is so important in this, and that's why speed is not of the essence. Speed In fact, speed of trust gets faster with slow time with the patient.
100%, just 100%. I mean, I think any relationship takes time. And, you know, many doctors don't understand how burnt out they are, how stressed out they are, how anxious they are, how nervous they are. And especially this younger generation of under 30s that, you know, they're just trying to pay back their bills. They're trying to make a living. They're trying to do the right thing. And they've got some boss that's using an outdated method. I mean, I have these young dentists saying, listen, I really want to use a rubber dam, but my boss doesn't let me. I'm like, you know, that's absolutely insane. You know, I have doctors saying I go and buy my own rubber dams to put in the practice, but when they say they're not even allowed to do it, that has to stop. You know, and I think that this is creating this environment where mistakes are happening, and because doctors are nervous, they know that they're not doing the right thing. They go home and they're creating this continuous burden of anxiety, and patients perceive that. And if they say, there's something wrong about this doctor, I'm not going to trust you. So for all of those young dentists under 30, I mean, I've got young women and men working for me. These kids, I mean, I remember when I was 26, 27, I thought I knew everything, right? And I actually looked very, very young. I looked 17 when I was 25, 26. And here I am, I'm a doctor, I'm going to pull out your tooth. You know, I'm a bit nervous, I'm insecure, my experience levels, you know, and I could be, you know, let's say I've got some self-confidence, but not everybody has self-confidence. Not everybody's really got the gift of the gab and all of that. And on top of it, you look like a kid about to do a surgical intervention in somebody's skull. And if on top of that, you've got a short time frame to do it in, and, you know, your assistant saying, doctor, the next patient's waiting. What is that? It's insane, and it has to stop.
What about, you know, another model here is the sort of, I suppose for lack of a better word, I say immunity to change. A lot of people have, using NHS dentistry as an example, a lot of people have been in NHS dentistry for a long time. Patients expect that. And in the UK, it's almost, you know, if you go into private dentistry, patients think you're a money grabber. And it's a big challenge. Now, I've obviously ridden through this, and I need an hour for my patients, and I follow what you say. It's taken a long time to understand this, but I suppose there is a bit of resistance from patients and a bit of resistance to change from the dental practitioners, so that the trust factor isn't there coming through.
I think, first of all, that's a great question. Let me answer that, and to all of the people that are very sensitive about political correctness, you might want to cover your ears, because science doesn't care about your feelings. All right. Okay. Patients should have brushed their teeth. They shouldn't be smoking. They shouldn't be alcoholics. They shouldn't be taking drugs. And they should have probably started going to the dentist a lot sooner. So when these patients show up and they've got these terrible mouths, smoking cigarettes, don't brush their teeth, expecting free dentistry, I think we might have said, hey, you're not invited to the party anymore. Do you understand? I think that the NHS, when it was created, my grandfather, for those that don't know, I'm British, have a British passport. My grandfather fought the Nazis for 6 years in the 1940s so we could all have our liberties. My family live in Manchester. And you know, I'm half British. I'm very proud of that. But when the NHS was created to allow affordable healthcare for everybody, I don't think that it understood what dentistry would turn into. I mean, back in the 40s and 50s, even the 60s, it was extractions, dentures, and some fillings, right? It was basic stuff. And now it's turned into something quite more complex and with all of these legal implications. And I don't think we can look at everybody the same. I honestly don't think we can look at everybody the same. And I think if you start treating everybody with this equity, with everybody has to get the same, no, if you don't brush your teeth and if you don't want to improve your healthcare, you're off the NHS. That's what I would do. And let's say I actually have told this to people in senior management at the NHS, because it's just nuts what's going on. It's nuts. And then you've got these young kids coming out, not given the right amount of time. What's wrong with going into healthcare, into private business? What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that? Let's spin that on its head. Why am I going into healthcare? Because the NHS doesn't allow me to do ethical dentistry. How about using that as an argument? I can't practice safe dentistry on the NHS. I'm given 15 minutes to process analyze, do some critical thinking, diagnose, treatment plan, and execute on another human being, I don't feel comfortable. People have to say stop. So I think there needs to be a fracture within the NHS. I think the service is very important. People that cannot afford care, people that don't have any alternatives. But you've got wealthy people wanting to go to the NHS. I don't understand that. Do you understand? So is it a public service? You know, and I think that what is lacking in dentistry is breaking down what is dentistry. Cleaning, so hygienes, emergency pain therapy, there's these basic things that I think need to be on the NHS, and everything else needs to come off. I really do. I mean, what do you be putting crowns and gold crowns and bridge work on the NHS? No, dentures. Go back to what it was in the 60s. Extractions, fillings, hygienes, and dentures. Then watch what happens. Maybe people say, oh, maybe I should have brushed my teeth some more. We've been telling people for 100 years to brush your teeth. There has to be accountability. And what dentists are not trained in doing is doing bad dentistry in 15 minutes. They're not trained to poorly diagnose and execute treatments, understaffed, underprepared, and in a rush. And then there's this expectations that these dentists are super people and they're not going to be committing suicide or making mistakes. It's insane, and somebody has to stop this. So as a licensed GDC practitioner, if somebody's hearing this and says, oh, we have to take his license away, let's go for it. And I'll give Piers Morgan a call and I'll go on TV and maybe stand up for these people, because it's got to stop. It has to stop. And there's nothing wrong with you wanting to make a good living in private sector as long as you do it properly. So, you know, what can't happen, so let's just break down a little bit. What can't happen is you going to the private sector, practicing the way you did, you know, seeing 30, 40 patients a day. That cannot happen. And that's what I think in this early phases of slow dentistry is what we're standing up for. I mean, nobody wants to stop the NHS. Nobody wants anybody to be unemployed, but we want patients to be a little bit more aware about their basic human rights of a trip to the dentist.
I think that's a good approach to think, and I love that passion that you express with that. Ultimately, every human deserves time with another human, and that's where we work through, really. If anybody wants to find out more about Slow Dentistry, do get in touch with Miguel or the team at Slow Dentistry. It is a 10% discount on the Slow Dentistry memberships. Don't forget, drop us an email. Now, the question, the other bit to talk about is your patient or public awareness initiatives that you're doing with Slow Dentistry, or the team in Switzerland doing with Slow Dentistry. What sort of things are they doing? What sort of strategies are they using to get this as wider awareness so the public actually ask questions?
So that's a great question. So we have a bunch of honorary global ambassadors that are like our advisory board from many countries. Most of these people are professors. They sit on the boards of multiple organizations. They're pillars of their community. They're teachers. And so they create constant awareness in their communities. They also in their lecture circuit, you know, because I know a lot of the world's best speakers, so they kindly make sure to mention Slow Dentistry in their lectures on their lecture circuit. I do that myself. I have a very big platform, so I'm always doing that as well. Publishing in, the International Dental Tribune has been very gracious. You've been very gracious. And so it's little things like this that we're doing. We're growing slowly. We're not in a rush. We made some, we've changed the website twice. You know what it's like, we built a website and then the guys screwed us, and then we had to change the website and those guys screwed us, and then we had to do a third time, so again, it's not been easy. It's like Mike Tyson said, every good plan fails when you get punched in the face. So, and again, everybody's doing this out of volunteers. I mean, God knows I could have spent my time, resources on other things that I'm well known for, let alone, people like Miguel's super famous at implant dentistry and cosmetic dentistry and digital dentistry. Why is he wasting time on this? I'm not. We need to collectively come together and improve this. So we are growing organically. We onboard roughly 3 clinics a week, and that's just organic growth. So we're very happy with that. We currently have over 500 or 600 members around the world. We're in over 50 countries. To be clear, I do not work for or at Slow Dentistry. I gave it away. It's a nonprofit. I have nothing to make from this. I'm just very passionate about standing up for it.
I think it's really cool actually seeing this and approaching this. So I like that. Now, another thing about slow dentistry, it isn't just about the clinician. It's about the team, really, isn't it?
100%. So one of the side effects, the immediate side effects. So for example, at the White Clinic. So I don't sell courses. I don't sell books. I don't sell webinars. My podcast is free. So for those of you thinking I'm trying to monetize that, I don't. So I don't have products. I don't have patents. I don't have shares in any company. I am pretty straightforward. I make money from my job and we have a clinic and that's what we do. Now, having said that, there's 7 chairs at the clinic. 2 of those do hygiene and the other 5 do general dentistry and, from surgery, implants, cosmetic, prosto, we have our own in-house lab. But no chair sees more than 8 appointments a day. So that's an 8-hour day. So no chair will do more than 8 appointments a day. So you can multiply the 8 times 7, and that's the maximum amount of clinic patients. We actually keep 1 chair free. We don't book anything for that 1 chair in case there's any emergencies. So there's a waiting list. I'm very passionate about one thing: no more than 4 minutes in the reception. So the minimum waiting time at my clinic is 4 minutes. With that said, imagine what that does for my front desk. It means if I were just to say overnight, you know what, we're going to do every 30 minutes, I could probably get away with it. But now I've gone from let's say I'm terrible at math, but let's say 7 times 8 to 7 times 16. Do you understand? So that means that the amount of confirmations we personally confirm, the calls, the SMSs, the emails, my daily risk doubles. It doubles. Exactly. People coming in, they bring their families. So I have a lot less volume in the clinic. That's the first thing. So the mental health of my front desk, the stress, the energy it's better. If there's a no-show, fine. We use that time to do something else, and yes, we are a little bit more expensive than other clinics in our region, but you know what? Customers really identify with that. They identify with that, and everything's always clean and nothing's in a rush and everything's always organized. And patients coming for dentistry, they're like, you know what, this is much better. We actually had patients after the pandemic. So let's just say we lost patients going for oral hygiene because they'd go somewhere else because it was a lot cheaper. I mean, let's say half price in clinics just down the road. After the pandemic, we got back about, I'm going to say 40, 50 patients that came back, and we were like, oh, you're back. Yeah, I understood that you take more time with hygiene. I'm just that simple. I understood the difference. So of course, and this has a knockoff effect on your assistants, your staff, your nurses, your other doctors, your junior doctors. I have a lot of young doctors on my team. And I'm going to give people a formula here. Let's say success in dentistry, write this down, is a good diagnostics plus a good treatment plan. You can write this down, you can use it, okay? So good diagnostics plus good treatment plan plus good materials plus good execution plus time, okay, which is experience, time or experience, right? Equals success. So if you have a lot of experience, you need less time. Everything else has to stay the same. If you have less experience, you need more time to have the same outcome. It's a mathematical equation. Yep. And if business owners don't understand this mathematical equation, they will fail. So I think that we just need to understand, and younger dentists need to demand more time to execute dentistry safely. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to make this formula global and allow dentists not to be so stressed, because let me just ask you one question. If you trained at school to use a rubber dam for root canals and you don't, how does that make you feel at night when you put your head on your pillow?
Yeah, incomplete. Very incomplete.
And day after day and month after month, man, that's going to have a negative effect on your psyche and your health, because you are doing something wrong. We're training them to be beautiful and fantastic and strong and powerful and transformative. And we're talking about all these beautiful things. You can change people's lives, and dentistry is amazing at the congresses and all of that. And then we put them in the marketplace and say, do everything you can to cut corners, save time, and make money.
Yeah.
How is this not so crushing? How is this not so crushing for young dentists?
Their expectations change. This is very important to look at. I agree. And I like that passion. And on that note, Miguel, I'm going to say thank you for having spent the last sort of hour really talking about something so important. Anybody has any questions, queries, feel free to get in touch, type them below. We will be back next week, but this is Slow Dentistry. Think, reflect, and really see what we've just discussed this evening, because I think there's important gems to take into that. It's a behavioral shift that we need to take. So
less is more. Less is more.
Less is more.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Drew. I'm so proud of